Howdy, everybody, and welcome to a We Learn Wednesday episode of the B Team. I'm Ryan Brauninger. He's Richard Zane. Behind the glass, pulling the strings. Producing the show today, Mr. Nick Savage. And Nick, on a We Learned Wednesday, I'm going to start with a question for you. Producer extraordinaire, did you know that we have a sponsor now?
Yeah, I did. I made sure we were on top of it starting November, or I guess the first episode in November.
Yes, we are sponsored now by Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, so thankful for their partnership with us. They aim to provide superior veterinary care at affordable prices and try their best to design treatment plans with owners' budgets in mind. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as on their website, southwoodvalleyvet.com. southwoodvalleyvet.com. You can schedule appointments on the website. You can also call them at 979-693-9898. That's easy to remember, 979-693-9898. Nick Savage has a pair of dogs. Correct?
I was about to say, it seems like a fitting sponsor because we're all pet lovers here. I know you got Dolly. I got 2 golden retrievers. Richard, I know, loves
Jenna.
dogs.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm
What?
kidding.
You didn't hear what he said?
No.
I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah,
You
probably.
said Richard, and he said has Jenna. Boy, me and Nick are
That you're
married.
talking about your,
I'm like
your
digging
cat
myself
at
a
home
hole.
named Jenna, right? Like
yeah,
that.
it's like,
Yeah,
that's what he's
yeah.
talking about. Or a
Yeah,
fish.
yeah,
You got
yeah.
a goldfish.
Yeah.
Here's a question.
I had a fish growing up. My cousin Juliana killed him. She poured in.
How'd you know it was a boy?
My cousin Juliana. I had a fish growing
But
up.
you
I
said
just
killed
assumed.
him.
I'm just assuming it was his name was Buddy.
Whoa.
We identified. He was
Did you
identified.
ask him how he identified?
No.
How it
God,
identified?
I'm digging myself another hole.
Have you ever seen fish balls?
No, I don't know. Anyways, he was a goldfish that we won at like some carnival, and he lived for months. We killed him. My cousin killed him because she dumped in like half of his container of food. Like one sitting in.
He ate himself though?
He ate himself to
Hey,
death.
how else would I want to go out?
That sounds like the perfect way for Brauny to go out, doesn't it?
It does sound like an advantageous way for me to go out. More than likely, if I had to roll the dice on how that's going to happen, I would say, "What are you doing? Trying to stay off camera?"
Yes. Nick's trying to stay off camera.
Bickham doesn't do that.
Oh, it's the Cade Bickham show.
It is the Cade Bickham B Team on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But Nick, what's going on here?
Dude, remember we were talking yesterday about getting Cade a new pair of glasses? It's a Warby Parker ad.
Can I jump in now that I got back to my seat real
Yes,
quick?
go ahead.
Next week, it will be the Cade Bickham show going forward. He's gonna get all 3 days of the B Team. So,
You're leaving us.
well, I'm going to get the morning show. He's going to get the afternoon shows. It just makes sense.
He seems like a kind of guy that enjoys sleeping in. Here's the question that I was going to pose for both of you, though. If Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, if you have a fish and it's like, can you take a fish to the vet?
I'm sure they could figure something out.
I don't know.
How do you do that? What if you have a pet bass
know.
or a pet Opelousas catfish that lives in a giant tank, or maybe it lives in your bathtub or any kind of vat that you can hold water in, and you've got a bass, you got a largemouth bass that lives in your house. It's like Bass Pro Shops, but it's in your home. And this bass, you notice it ain't pooping, or maybe it's swimming only turning to the left. There's something indicating that this fish
If he's
has-
only turning left, I want that fish.
yeah, he's going real
Yeah.
fast and real left. What do? Do you bring it to a vet? I don't know these things.
Nick, better
this is a We
question.
Learned Wednesday. Somebody tell us, if you have a sick fish, do you bring them to the vet?
New question for Nick. Does it seem like Bronny's projecting? He's like, if you have an Opelousas catfish,
he
and
was,
it's in a
super
vat in
in-depth.
your bathtub. Sounds like something nefarious is going on at the Brauninger household.
Sounds like he's got a fish that isn't pooping and is only turning left.
See, I would think maybe there's
His name's
something
Denny
going
Hamlin.
nefarious, but I know who runs the show at your place, and she wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, you do. And I know who's running the show from now on at your place after the first 30 segments of this episode.
There might be only one person in my place after the first 30 seconds is the problem. Hope not. But I'm going to have to apologize
talk
and
your way around that
atone
one.
for that one.
Hey, what'd you think about Ryan Blaney?
Well, I mean, he won the race, but you're kind of burying the lead there.
You know, he
Brauny.
was in that number 12 Ford. I thought he looked good.
Well, he was, but you're totally. Again, you're burying the lead.
Well, what was the lead? That Keselowski made a bump?
What did you Google?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know him. I thought Keselowski and Kyle Larson were getting after it.
Dude, that was Sunday was the championship race.
Yeah.
And Kyle Larson won. Didn't he? Oh, brother. There was a caution with about, I can't remember, like 15-ish laps to go. Denny Hamlin was on pace to win his first championship. His dadgum crew chief gave him 4 tires when everyone else took 2, and guess who won it? Kyle Larson.
How did you feel about that? I don't know.
I thought it was a dumb call. I would have just kept him out. Wouldn't even brought him down pit road. If the whole goal of the championship race is to finish in front of your championship 4 competitors, which, by the way, NASCAR does it really stupid playoff format. But anyways, you just got to beat 3 other drivers, and Denny Hamlin was in the lead. They brought him down pit road, and guess what? Somebody jumped him, and that person ended up winning the championship. So, dumb move by the crew chief. You're fired.
So who ended up with most points? Blaney, right?
Well, here's the deal. This is why NASCAR sucks now, is they don't do – it doesn't matter how many points Kyle Larson had. All it matters is at the last race of the season that he finishes in front of the 3 other championship 4 drivers. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid.
What?
I think they're about to change it because everyone's fed up, including myself.
So it only matters what you do on the last race.
Yes.
You got crew points, but you got to finish above the next 3 drivers.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
You know what I just realized,
Weird.
Brauny, is that we're going to miss out on a lot of really good NASCAR conversation and education with Cade Bickham sitting in the production chair.
Well, he brings soccer to the table, and y'all are all on board with soccer.
Yeah, but how am I going to get my fix when the Great American Race rolls around in late February?
Maybe I'll hop in and give you a little rundown on the Daytona 500.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And until then, we're just going to go wall-to-wall F1, right, Nick?
Well, yeah, NASCAR's done.
So this is your checkered flag show.
Yeah. Until I'm needed in a fill-in role, I'd be more than happy to hop in.
Okay.
But yeah, Cade Bickham, full-time producer for the B team going forward.
There was a little Trump in there.
Brauny.
Well, you missed him when you missed
big time. Richard Zane, big shooter, but that's retired.
Yeah, that is retired.
They used to call him Big Shooter.
Not anymore. I don't know why I don't call him Big Shooter anymore.
Call him Big Shooter. Guy who tormented me one way.
All right, college football playoff rankings come out, and this is the thing. Whenever you have an afternoon show, especially when this is a giant piece of news in the college football world, and it happened about 12 hours or 24 hours ago, a little less than 24 hours ago. We are getting the last jabs at this, and so whatever you've listened to across the college football podcast, the TexAgs Live, whatever, all this stuff's probably will have been said. I did not have an issue with Texas A&M at number 3 because I'm of the opinion that it doesn't really matter right now. There's still 4 weeks to be played. There are still huge hurdles left for A&M to clear to just get into the playoff, and it's not just A&M. And I think whenever you start going through Nick's got the projected bracket popped up on the screen. This is a snapshot in time. And so I'm not super worried about it. What I didn't like is I thought the committee did a better job than they did at any point last year of at least you can look at some of this and go, okay, like I can see some metrics that they used. But they came out and they said that they were going to use strength of record, and A&M strength of record is number 1. Then they come out and it's Mack Rhodes, and Mack Rhodes says he's worried about A&M's defense, and you start going through A&M's schedule. And we talked about this yesterday. Like, if you just look at the scores of these games, you can fall into a lull of assuming that the entire game played out like the final score looks like. Correct? Like,
correct.
A&M Auburn's a perfect exemplar of that. And so if you got questions about the A&M defense, I think you can point to 2 games, and it's Notre Dame and Arkansas.
Yes.
Outside of that, the Aggie defense has been pretty good.
And I really think you can only point to one of those games because Arkansas, we know, is selling out to win that game. Bobby P on motorcycle night. I don't think they're very good. Now they've got a good offense, they've got a good quarterback. But to me, Notre Dame's actually just a good team. I know we'll talk about them a little bit later.
Yeah.
That's a good team that scored a lot of points in a heavyweight fight on a Saturday night. Poet didn't know it in front of touchdown Jesus.
The Aggies gave up very late touchdowns to UTSA, Utah State, Mississippi State, LSU. Am I missing one?
No, I don't think you're missing one. They also only gave up a singular touchdown to Auburn on a 2-yard drive.
Yeah. And so when you look at their point totals, I think they have to be adjusted for. And I'm not just talking about A&M. I'm talking like if you're going to go dive in to this A&M Missouri matchup and you're going to look at Mizzou and just base everything off point totals, there's a bigger story to be had than just the final score. And we gave Olin credit for that yesterday. Olin does a good job of diving into what happens in these games. And so for Mac Rhodes to come out there and question the A&M defense, but you don't really what did he say that Notre Dame's center was out, and I know Billy made a big point about what Le'Veon Moss has been out for A&M. Like, how are you? Why is one injury adjusted and not and weighted into the schedule and into the baked into the recipe for how you're doing your rankings for one team and not another? Whatever. Again, like I don't really care. I actually. If you made me pick, I like that A&M's number 3, and I like that the commissioner or the chairman of the committee comes out and says some things that may make you go, huh? So like, if I don't think Mike Elko and his team need any more motivation than going on the road and playing number 22 with what Coach Elko, by his own words, has said is a playoff matchup. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I don't think they need any extra motivation, but. Maybe this ranking and the way that it was explained gives them a little extra juice. And maybe Torian York and Scooby Williams and Cassius Howell feel a little bit disrespected by – if you're the chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, where does that rank in terms of the hierarchy of powerful people in this sport right now?
Pretty high.
It's pretty high.
Maybe number 1. Actually, no. Number
Greg
1
Sankey.
Is still going to be Greg Sankey, and number 2 is going to be Tony Petitti. You can make the argument that whoever's calling the shots at Disney is even more important than the College Football Playoff chairman.
He's got a seat at the head table, this guy.
Absolutely.
And it's Mac Rhodes. He's the AD at Baylor. And you'd think that a guy that's 90 miles up the road would have a little bit better feel for what's going on in College Station. But whatever. Like, I don't care.
Have people in Waco ever had a feel for what's going on in College Station, let alone college athletics? They kind of live in their own little bubble. They're only relevant every now and then. Almost
made a very inappropriate joke. And I'm glad that even though this is B-Team and only streamed on the internet and not on live radio, that I kind of ate it. I swallowed it, and it's gone. It's out of my mind. I'm not even thinking about saying what I was going to say anymore, ever, even though I'll probably tell you and Nick off the air.
Can't wait to hear what this joke was. First off, I want to circle back to Olin. You know what Olin did this afternoon?
Meandered.
Well, that was this morning. He was in
you missed that, Nick.
Meandering form this morning, Nick. He was just wanting to talk about anything and everything under the sun. He did not write. He ended up writing a story. Story's out on TexAgs.com right now around college football. It's all about Texas A&M's offensive line and their case for the Joe Moore Award and how they might have to do more, get it? Play on words, to beat Missouri and their defensive ends, right? So their pass rush, stuff like that. Olin had an error in his story, and as the editor, I gave him a call, wanted to work through it. He called me back. This is before 1 o'clock. He resends the copy. I think I've got it taken care of. I send him an email back immediately. I just wanted a little bit more clarity. This was at 1:09 p.m. This is important because Olin did not call me back until 3:44, which is about an hour after his story had been published, because I had just taken it on, like, I figured I knew what he wanted to say and put it as best I could in his own words, or what I thought his own words would be. He called me in the first sentence, goes, "Sorry, I was taking a nap." The man took a 2.5-hour nap on a Wednesday afternoon.
That's how you get over hump day.
I aspire to be like that when I am Olin Buchanan's age. I would kill for a 2.5-hour nap right now.
2.5-hour naps are way too long.
For sure, they're too long. Like that, man, Olin's not going to be able to sleep tonight.
No, my naps are max like 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes. I'm usually between 15 and 20-minute napper. It's perfect.
That was my complete derail of the college football playoff topic. Talk about Olin's long nap.
How we got on there is because before he wrote his article this morning, Nick, I bet he walked a half a mile upstairs meandering between Richard's desk, my desk, his office. He'd go in there and sit down. He'd come back out and he'd start walking around and talking. It was peak Olin Buchanan.
I don't blame him, though. Sometimes I'm guilty of that in this office, too. It's like there's things I need to do, and I'm just like talking to everybody. I'll go see whoever's sitting in the lobby, then go see Luke, then Callie's right behind him, and then maybe
you made
David's
one bad
office.
stop in there.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're watching us, we got about 40 people watching us on YouTube. It does nothing. Again, I'm kind of begging, shameless plug here, but give us a like, man. It does nothing to you. It only helps us in the algorithm. Click that thumbs up. We have, again, gotten some really cool responses to this show. I feel like we've got kind of a flow now. We've got a schematic theme for each day. Tomorrow's Thunderdome Thursday, I'm excited about. I hinted at you. You really don't know where we're going. I gave you some hints earlier this week, but we will be eating again tomorrow because look at me. If you give me an opportunity to eat on camera, off camera, it's kind of like if I get an opportunity to take a nap, I fell asleep on a ladder before.
What?
Yeah. I was little.
Yeah, how's that possible?
I was outside and my dad was working, hanging up Christmas lights, and I was helping him, and he was, I don't know if he was untangling strands or he was working on like the bushes, but I was just sitting on the ladder that he had been using, and I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. I fell asleep on a ladder.
Fell asleep sitting up, essentially.
Well, I had my legs through the center of it, and then it was a ladder with a platform.
Oh.
And so I was able to kind of rest my arms and head right there. But
that makes a little bit more sense.
Eating and sleeping, I'm pretty much good for anytime, any place.
You're really good at it. So is Olin. Back to the college football playoff, right? Yesterday, when the rankings started, or before the rankings started, I kind of assumed A&M would be third. I wouldn't have been shocked if they were fourth, nor would I have been shocked if they had been higher than 3. But as the team started coming off the board, and really when I saw Iowa and how high the Hawkeyes were, something clicked in my head thinking, oh my goodness, the playoff committee is actually doing what they said they are going to do and valuing strength of schedule, strength of record. Texas A&M legitimately has a chance to be 2 or 1 when they get there. Honestly, I had that thought. I sent a text to Callie and Luke. They were running our social media throughout the show just to kind of give them a bit of a heads up on what I thought. They were really on the same page as I was. And then to see A&M finish at 3 was kind of shocking. And then to hear the reasoning behind why A&M was at 3 was not shocking. It was just plain dumb. Texas A&M's, the separator was the defense.
Well, so like you start comparing resumes, right? And here's a question for both you and Nick. Who's got the best win in college football this season?
Alabama over Georgia.
Alabama between the hedges.
Number 2, A&M at Notre Dame.
2 would be A&M at Notre Dame, not by the metrics of the playoff committee. So the playoff committee does agree that the best win of this season by their rankings would be Alabama 4 beating Georgia 5th. Then second best win would be Indiana at Oregon. The Ducks are at number 9. The third best win by their rankings would be Texas A&M over Notre Dame, who's at 10. And then the fourth best win would be Ohio State over Texas, who's number 11. So here's a question I have. Do you think that Notre Dame should be ranked ahead of Texas right now?
Yes, I think Notre Dame has looked better because that's the other part of this whole thing. It's a human element to this committee, and they are absolutely including eye test. Eye test. It's something we're never actually going to be able to define or quantify or anything like that. We are including an empirical qualitative data to something that also includes quantitative data. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to get you a perfect formula.
It's the same system of assigning numbers to high school football players and rating them that way as prospects. Like you're assigning.
That's a great comparison.
Nick Savage is a 94 overall. Well, what outputs give him a 94? Like we're just assigning a number to traits and stuff like that. Like,
how many stars does Nick Savage have?
He's a 5-star.
Yeah.
5-star producer.
You're actually a 5-star plus. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, sweet. Y'all are the best.
but the issue here is like the metrics that you use to rank one ahead of the other. I'm of the opinion that wins matter more than losses. Notre Dame's best win is USC at home.
Okay. Texas's best win is Oklahoma. Vanderbilt at home.
Is Vanderbilt at home or Oklahoma on a neutral site? And Oklahoma's right behind them at 12. So I personally, just based on how the resumes stack up right now, I would have Texas ahead of Notre Dame. I would have gone Texas at 10, Notre Dame at 11, Oklahoma at 12. But there's some real live dogs toward the back end of this. And just because Texas is 11 and Oklahoma's 12, that doesn't mean they're in the playoff. You have an ACC champion that's going to get in, and you have a group of five, the highest rated group of five team will get in. Right now,
that's
it's Memphis.
Something I had to explain to somebody last night in one of the threads, and it, to their credit, is a little bit confusing. It's not just the top 12 teams make the playoffs. There are a couple stipulations in there to make sure that we get more of a national view inside the field of 12, right? It is top 5 conference champions get an automatic bid, and then it's 7 at-large teams from any conference plus Notre Dame. And it's going to be the 7 highest ranked after that.
I think there's an argument for, like, Indiana is blasting people every week.
Yes, they are. Just smushing them, I believe is what you said earlier.
And like
this
the
week.
Games are never close outside of when the ball's kicked off. It's one-way traffic in favor of the Hoosiers the rest of the game. An interesting point you brought up was about Iowa. That's the closest game that Indiana has played. It was in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes lost by 5. Hoosiers 20, Iowa 15. Iowa host Oregon this week. We're going to pick that game tomorrow. I heard Josh Pate in his episode on Tuesday talk about the weather there. And if it is as bad as he is making it sound to be, I haven't looked it up, but if it's going to be as bad as the predicted forecast was yesterday, you got to like Iowa to just muck that thing up.
Against Oregon?
Against Oregon. And then Iowa, if they win that game, jumps right back into the picture in the Big Ten. Because you're trying to extrapolate all this out. And I think if you're trying to make prognostications and predictions on what's going to happen with, it's like, I think you can probably make a cut at 17. Maybe, where was Iowa?
Oh, and I'll pull it up. We've got it on TexAgs.com right now.
20.
The author was okay.
Iowa's 20. And who was 18? I don't have.
Miami. I have it in front of me right now. It's Miami's 18.
I think Miami's dead.
And USC's 19.
I think USC's dead.
I don't think USC's dead. USC still has some resume builders. And one of them's Iowa.
Oh. Yeah, that's true.
What do you mean USC's dead? USC gets a 10-2 out of the Big Ten. You think brand name USC, Southern Cal, the team of O.J. Simpson and Reggie Bush isn't getting in?
They do have Iowa and Oregon.
They've got resume builders.
USC's not dead yet, okay? Iowa's not dead. I do think Miami's dead.
I also think Miami's dead. Miami's only hope is there is utter and complete chaos in the ACC and they somehow get to Charlotte for the conference championship game and win it. That's their only hope.
Well, they dunked Georgia Tech pretty good.
Yes, they did, which I was shocked by.
They're down to 17, and I think part of it is there's a human element to this that you didn't think Georgia Tech was going to be very good to come into the season. They win in weird ways. It's the Haynes King show. So when they lose, I think you're a little bit more willing to dump them as far as they did. When Miami has two, I mean, they're not awful losses, but they've got a loss to Louisville, who's at 15. They lost to SMU, who lost 3 times. Lost
pretty bad.
It's not as bad as losing to NC State.
Sure, it's not nearly as bad as losing to NC State.
But they're one spot behind Georgia Tech as 2 losses. I thought Georgia Tech got hosed here, and they have to win in Athens, or they have to beat Georgia.
No, they don't, though. But they don't. Well, they just have to get to Charlotte and win the league.
Yes, true. I'm saying if they
have a mulligan where Miami doesn't left.
What I'm saying is if they don't win the ACC, I don't think they're going to get in.
I agree with that, but I also don't think anybody who doesn't win the ACC is getting in. I think it's a 1-bid league at this point. I legitimately, the highest ranked ACC team is Virginia. They are behind 3 Big 12 teams.
So
Big 12 teams.
Virginia's remaining schedule: Wake Forest, at Duke, and Virginia Tech.
Duke, solid. That could give them some trouble.
Louisville's remaining schedule: Cal, Clemson, at SMU, Kentucky.
Well, we just found out this week that at SMU ain't no slouch.
And then Georgia Tech, at Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia. Pitt's playing pretty good.
Pitt's playing well. And for Georgia Tech's path to the playoff, I legitimately do not think that game in Athens matters. If they are 11, the only way they get in is if they win the ACC. Yep. The only way they get in is if they win the ACC. What happens in Athens is not going to matter for Georgia Tech's playoff resume. The only thing it will matter for is Haynes King's Heisman candidacy.
So let's go back to Oregon. What has Oregon done to deserve to be ranked 9th, other than have a really high expectation of them in the preseason?
Well, I mean, they did beat Penn State when Penn State was ranked. If you listen to Josh Pate, the way he talked about this on Monday's edition of TexAgs Live, you can crystallize wins in the moment. You can also give them context after the fact. We're finding out that Penn State's not very good. They're very talented, but we are also seeing that might have been a Penn State team that poured every single ounce they had into trying to win that game. They ultimately lost it in overtime to Oregon, whiteout conditions, all of that jazz, yada, 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 and it broke them.
If Oregon...
They melted down after that.
Oregon can't lose again.
Oregon should get credit. Yes, Oregon cannot lose again to get into the college football playoff, but Oregon should get credit, and it should somehow count as a resume builder for killing Penn State, because that's what they did.
Here's the rest of the Duck schedule. At Iowa, Minnesota at home, USC at home, and at Washington. I think if you make the argument that but man, still, like Iowa and USC are legit quality opponents, and then at Washington could be tricky. But there's not a lot of meat left on the bone, so they're going to have to win out, and they're comfortably in. But if they drop one of those, I think they're going to fall out of this thing. But you start counting teams by conference, and
so that's the thing is counting teams by conference. The Big Ten is going to get in at least 3, if not 4. And the other thing you have to take into consideration, because it is a human element, it is a made-for-television tournament, brand names. Oregon is a brand. They have talent. They have the high-paid coach. They have the Nike money. That is going to give them some staying power in the eyes of the committee if they end up having a 10-2 record on Selection Day. They are absolutely going to be right around that cut line, and because of who they are and how the committee and the country views this tournament, that could get them in the field of 12.
Well, let's start looking at SEC teams and how much wiggle room they have. We don't need to go through A&M's schedule. We know what the Aggies have. Some big hurdles left on the road, especially. Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Eastern Illinois, and at Auburn. Is Alabama at a spot where they have wiggle room?
Yes, Alabama's got wiggle room.
I think so
because
too.
of that win in Athens, they've got wiggle room. Because if you lose to an LSU team this week, everyone's like, oh, well, that's still a really, really talented team, even though they don't have their head coach. If you lose to Auburn in the Iron Bowl, it's a really, really bad loss, but I don't think it's a resume killer because the committee, much like most of the people who watch college football on a daily basis, are probably like, well, the Iron Bowl, crazy stuff happens a lot. They've got a ball again.
And I do think the committee would give some leniency toward brands, like you said. I do think Bama does have some wiggle room. What's going to be interesting is if a 2-loss team gets to Atlanta and then loses.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
That almost happened to A&M last year, and I'm of the opinion that the NCAA and the SEC especially are not going to take kindly if their conference runner-up is not in the playoff.
Yeah. That could be a nightmare scenario for the rest of college athletics.
Let's just say Georgia Tech, not even Georgia Tech. Let's just say Louisville doesn't play in Charlotte, and so they only have 1 loss, or Virginia only has 1 loss. They don't play in Charlotte. You're going to penalize a team that has to play a conference championship game and reward a team that doesn't. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think you're going to have to. The SEC runner-up should always get in, regardless of the scenario. If you got to put them at 12, fine. But I think they should always get in. All right, so Georgia at Mississippi State, trickier than you think.
That line's close to a touchdown still, right?
And Mississippi State's been close all year, man.
And it's an 11 a.m. game, and it's weird times, weird hours.
And it's a look-ahead spot because the next week it's Texas going to Athens.
Yeah.
Then they have Charlotte and Georgia Tech. So Georgia, I don't think Georgia's got wiggle room.
I agree with you.
I think another Georgia loss, because if the loss is to Georgia Tech or Texas, those are huge resume boosters for those teams that are both in contention for your spot.
So what about this? You don't think Georgia's got wiggle room? What if Georgia wins their next 3 games? They get to the clean old-fashioned hate game at 10-1, and they lose to the Yellow Jackets.
I guess that would be a scenario where they go to Atlanta.
They go to Atlanta
and lose.
You think Georgia at 10-3 is getting out?
Okay.
Out?
That was the argument I just made. Yeah. So that's a good point by you.
They've got the wiggle room because of a non-conference game.
The slightest bit of wiggle room.
Yes.
The slightest bit. But if they lose to Mississippi State or Texas.
If you lose to Mississippi State or Texas, you will be completely out of
You're at the mercy of the committee. Ole Miss looks like they're clean through here. The Citadel, they're off this week. The Citadel, Florida, and then the Egg Bowl.
Yeah, they think they're clean through.
Even though I don't think Ole Miss is playing a great brand of football right now.
No,
did you watch the South Carolina game?
No, I did not.
It was kind of gross. It's actually really gross. Very sloppy on both sides. Kind of coasted. Ole Miss coasted to a comfortable win, but they never really Ole Miss and Lane Kiffined South Carolina. Like they never put them to the sword like you typically see.
Sure.
BYU, very interesting because the Cougars and Kalani Sitake undefeated. They're at Texas Tech, one of the biggest games of the week. I don't know why I went to BYU. We're talking SEC teams here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me skip BYU.
You got to go all the way down to Texas. There's no room for them. There's no wiggle room for them. They have to win out. They've got to get to 10-2. Their fan base thinks they can
get in at 9-3.
That's crazy. That's crazy. To their credit, they do have some resume builders out there, right?
Yeah.
If you get to 9-3 and your wins are Georgia and Texas A&M, but I mean I don't know who else do they have.
Well, we got Arkansas in between.
Yeah, they could lose to Arkansas because we saw Arkansas no pushover with that offense, that quarterback.
Well, Texas has walked the line a bunch this year.
Yes, they have. Arkansas's got a good. Texas has a really, really good win with the Oklahoma game in Red River, and another really, really good win over Vanderbilt at 9-3.
I think they're out.
I think you're out because there's gonna be bid stealers.
And I also think the team that's got a better shout at 9-3 is right behind you in Oklahoma. Now the issue is that you beat Oklahoma head to head, but Oklahoma's schedule's a monster. They're still at Alabama, Missouri at home, and LSU at home to finish the year.
Because we're talking about Texas and Oklahoma right now, just to see the graphics on ESPN yesterday about the bracket, the projected bracket, and who the first team out and the second team out, and what Texas A&M's draw would be, that to me was like, I would sign that in blood right now. I would make that a perfect scenario because not only is Texas A&M with a pretty solid path to Miami, their biggest rival, and then two of their biggest recruiting rivals are the ones left out and get to be the ones with sour grapes on social media over the next X number of months. That would be so amazing. The tears would be overflowing.
I don't know that I can remember, not even last year, the actual bowls mattering less.
They don't matter at all.
I know they don't.
It was a couple years ago. I went down. The only football game I've ever been credentialed at for TexAgs was that Texas Bowl against Oklahoma State. Nothing has ever mattered less than that day.
Hey, remember was it LSU that played? They didn't even have a quarterback, and they played in the Texas Bowl.
So bad. It's so bad for college athletics.
So it's interesting to see what happens to programs that are just left out, and especially if they are in year 4 or 5 of a head coach.
Especially if their head coach is flirting around with the Tennessee Titans.
Or what happens?
Who said that?
What happens in Norman if they could trip up in these final 3 games?
Their schedule ain't easy.
Oh, they've had a really tough schedule.
Schedule's real tough.
So here's a did you know for a We Learned Wednesday. Did you know that only 3 teams haven't allowed more than 24 points in a game this year? Ohio State, Indiana, and Auburn.
It's so funny.
If there was ever a graphic that you could pop up to say why did Auburn fire Hugh Freeze, it's that one.
I was looking it up. Auburn ranks 102 in scoring offense, 22.3 points per game. If they rank 80th nationally in scoring offense, you could make an argument they could be undefeated.
You make a pretty good argument. If 24 points in today's college football is very doable.
Jeez. Not when you've got that jabroni calling the shots.
Not anymore.
He's not calling the shot. Well,
hey,
he's making phone calls, I'm sure.
I'm talking from a purely football perspective.
Don't give him your credit card.
I know you are going to yeah, very good. Don't give Hugh Freeze your credit card or your cell phone. Allegedly.
Confirmed.
Allegedly.
Confirmed.
You'll get us in trouble on this show. Do you think it's realistic that Auburn promotes DJ Durkin to be their head coach?
Well, I saw a tweet out there earlier this week about the practice culture around Auburn, and
LSU had one too.
I'm not going to go there. That's insensitive. I'm not going to say it.
All I'm saying is DJ Durkin's he's a good football coach. We saw it here. He was a good DC here, despite Olin. He's been a good DC at Auburn, and I think they could make worse hires.
They can. And there's going to be a team in this league that makes a worse hire than DJ Durkin because there's so many openings in the SEC and nationally. There's not enough good, proven coaches to land at all of these spots.
Nick, would you
everybody be happy?
Would you hire Jimbo Fisher?
No, not back into the SEC. No.
So if Arkansas?
No. You've seen it. You've seen there's
a ceiling.
There's 6 years of evidence here. But I mean, if I were a Big 12 school, a ACC school, give them another shot.
The problem is, I think for programs like Arkansas, for programs like Oklahoma State, I don't think Virginia Tech. I wouldn't put Virginia Tech in this ballpark. But especially if you are on the lower level of a G4. I think you go find the next up-and-comer. And I think there's more juice with your program that way. These guys are cutting their teeth in this realm, in this sphere of college football that is very different even from what Jimbo stepped out of at A&M a couple of years ago. And when Mike Elko left Jimbo, we saw the ball started rolling down the hill in a bad way for Jimbo here. And I don't know that, like, what evidence, and I don't want to sound like I'm tearing Jimbo down as a person. I like Jimbo, and Jimbo had, I think you would say that it was a cordial, like A&M fans would still be cordial with Jimbo. He didn't do anything nefarious. He never badmouthed the program, anything like that. But I would just have trepidation if I'm an administrator about hiring Jimbo, because as this college football landscape started to change and the recruiting regulations changed and NIL became a factor and the portal and all this stuff, you didn't have a great grasp for this new era of college football. And there's a better shout to be made. I think that Jimbo is closer to the lines of thinking of Bill Belichick and Nick Saban than he is to John Summerall, Mike Elko, like these coaches that have kind of come up having to deal with this and having to manage it. And, how important was those 2 years for Mike Elko at Duke when all this stuff was changing? Vastly important that he walked in here and he kind of understood A, this place, but B, how college football was evolving. Jimbo has been sitting around watching it. So I agree with you, Nick. Like, it would take, I think you'd have to go to a place that's like, I don't know, like maybe a Marshall, because he's from West Virginia. But again, like, what is the incentive for Marshall to hire him? Is it because he's a native son, that kind of thing, as opposed to finding the next up-and-coming guy?
I'd go find the next up-and-coming guy.
But Jimbo's a name that I see, you see his name attached to some of these coaching vacancies and odds. You can bet on Jimbo Fisher for, I think it was the Auburn job. Like, he's got odds that you can bet on.
Really?
I just don't think Auburn's going to do that.
I would be shocked.
And Josh Pate keeps hinting at there's there's going to be more job openings than you anticipate. Somebody's leaving where they're at right now that you don't expect to, that we're not talking about. I got half a mind to believe it's Dabo Swinney. The way he's talking in his press conference.
Shane Beamer. Well, I don't know how.
Beamer's be another one, though.
Yeah.
But the way Dabo's talking in his pressers after games is crazy. Like, why are you defending yourself so hard, dude? Like, it's like this insecurity's coming out in front of the cameras.
You think he's campaigning?
He's been there forever, but like, he's insecure because it's coming out. Like, they might fire me today.
You know, his side of it, just because, like, hey, I'm a multiple time national championship coach. I know what I'm talking about. But then also, anyone with eyes can see it. You know, something's not right.
Well, and you talk about how would you, if you had to put coaches in a Venn diagram, like, you'd probably lean, you'd definitely lean Dabo to be more inside the circle with Nick Saban, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's failed to embrace the transfer portal. But come on, man, you're Dabo Swinney. You've turned Clemson from a laughing stock and a meme into a legitimate national championship program multiple times over a decade. You need to be walking around that building like that. You don't cave to reporters because you've had a bad year. It's like he's handling this like a first-year head coach that walked in with a preseason top 5 team and doesn't know how to handle the downfall of it.
He's turned Clemson into one of the blue bloods in this century.
If you ask any Texas A&M fan on the planet, would you trade your last 50 years for Clemson's last 15?
Yes.
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. But so why is the head coach, the guy that built all that, having these outbursts of insecurity in his post-game press conferences? Something's amiss there. So that's why I'm saying it wouldn't surprise me if Dabo just wanted to change the scenery.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think, well, with less success, but kind of, you know, getting fed up or at least fan base getting fed up with him is Shane Beamer. That's why I mentioned him.
Somebody in the chat says, I think Archie with Jimbo could be a force.
The thing is, though, like, Jimbo
recruiting, man.
He's good at that. Like, he can close, but you're right. That's the issue there, is that there's not enough talent in Arkansas for him to win those in-state battles or even win the fringe battles in Texas and Oklahoma and North Louisiana. Like, I just don't think there's enough players. You plop him down in a really talent-rich area or an area that needs a jolt, like I said, like a Marshall. He could go in there, and I think he could recruit pretty well. And they could make them competitive on their level.
He is a pretty big name, too. It would generate some interest from I'm sure,
I think
Marshall's donorship base.
He'd be a bigger name at a G5 than he would at a P4 right now.
Sure.
But you're the one that brought it up. They said there's just not a lot of coaches out there. So somebody is going to have to index on a guy that's out of the game right now.
What about Ed Orgeron?
I don't think Coach O's coming back. I don't think Urban Meyer's coming back. I do think Jimbo wants to come back and coach. James Franklin will come back and coach. Somebody should. If I'm Arkansas, I'm promising the world to James Franklin. Are you kidding?
Yes.
Now, James Franklin's probably going to have options on the table, and he's going to go, man, can I win in Fayetteville?
No.
In that league, in that job?
James Franklin should go to Virginia Tech.
Rank the hardest football jobs in the SEC.
Kentucky, 1.
Kentucky's 1.
Arkansas is pretty tough. Missouri's pretty tough.
I'd say Mississippi State's 2.
Mississippi State's tough. Vanderbilt's tough.
I'd say Vandy's 2. Speaks to what Clark Lee's done. I'd say Mississippi State's 3.
I still don't think Clark Lee leaves. I think Clark Lee stays.
I think he's leaving.
I don't think. He seems like a guy who's going to stick it around Vanderbilt for as long as possible and try to pull off the impossible dream.
It's just going to be
to make them the best college football program in the country.
There's a scalability thing, and I think there's a ceiling to the talent that you can get in Vanderbilt. And when is he ever going, like, this quarterback that he's got is for Vanderbilt like a generational player. And he's got a potential first round draft pick at tight end that kind of fell into his arms by way of A&M and New Mexico State. Like, he's doing a great job of scouting, and and he does a fantastic job of player development. But to me, I would be looking at that going, man, have I got Vandy to this precipice and to the cusp of the college football playoff and the SEC championship game, and this might be the best team, most talented team I'm going to have. And I brought them here. Where else? How much higher can I go here?
Good point.
But he is a Vandy guy, so there's some of that too.
Barton Simmons now the GM there too.
Yeah, I don't know what his aspirations are, and unless you're sitting in his living room every night, nope, you don't know either. So we're speculating just like everybody else is on his future and what he wants to do. But if he wants to be a national championship caliber coach, and I think he is, he's got to be in a program that can provide him the resources for him to get there. I don't think Vandy can. And it's not anything against Vandy. It's just a small private school in the middle of Tennessee.
But did you think Vanderbilt could win the national championship in baseball until Tim Corbin got there?
Yes, because they had recruiting advantages that other schools did during that time.
Okay.
You forget that they were private.
Yes.
And so they weren't subjected to the same 11.7 scholarship rule that everybody they could get funds to fund baseball.
TCU the same way.
Yes. These private institutions in baseball had a real advantage for a long time.
Yeah.
They don't anymore. So I think Clark Lee's going to end up moving, but Missouri, I think, is a good job. I don't think it's one of the best jobs in the SEC, but I do think I think South Carolina is a harder job than Missouri. Missouri, you've got two giant metros, and you have a state legislature that has just given a giant promotional aid to your program, and that if you're a high school athlete in Missouri, you can start receiving NIL funds if you're going to a university in the state. Well, how many really good athletes in the state of Missouri are going to go to SEMO or Missouri State?
Not very many.
So who does this benefit?
The University of Missouri.
So it benefits Mizzou. I think that's advantageous.
Just feels like Missouri is a bottom half of the league job.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is a tough job.
I think anything in the state of Mississippi is tough, especially anything that's tied to education in the state of Mississippi.
Well, and we still have to see how Oklahoma is going to finish this schedule. But given the SEC and Oklahoma's location, the Oklahoma job, to me, is still a really, really good job. It's not near the job it was when they were in the Big 12.
Same thing you could say about Nebraska out there in the Big 10. That job's not nearly as good as it was when they were in the Big 12 or the Big 8 before that.
But that job became what it was because of Tom Osborne and the program he was running, and the advantages it
turned him into a blue blood. Had him there for a very, very long time.
Yes, and he had similar recruiting advantages that a lot of folks around him in other states didn't.
We had a lot of advantages that other people weren't partaking in.
So it's an interesting question to rate and this is something that we could probably do at a later show, is rank the top 10 toughest Big 3 jobs in the SEC. Because Missouri baseball would be up there.
Texas A&M basketball might be up there.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that any of A&M's Big 3 sports is like a bottom 5 in the league.
I agree with you, but A&M basketball is tough.
Mississippi State basketball, real tough. South Carolina basketball, even though they went to a Final Four recently, I think it's really tough.
Shout out to Frank Martin.
So when you're looking at how these coaching vacancies are going to be filled, I'm super intrigued by the callbacks, the guys that cut their teeth and have made a name for themselves nationally, whether they're out of coaching or they're in coaching, like Dan Mullen. And then, what do the next level of jobs, whether they be low G4 or G5 or low P4, what does Colorado State do?
You mentioned Dan Mullen. With each opening, each power conference school that comes open, I feel more and more inclined to move off my prediction that he stays at UNLV for another year. Just seems like there's going to be too much money thrown around.
If I'm Arkansas, I'm backing the Brinks truck up for Dan Mullen too.
Too much money is going to be thrown around for you to stick around at UNLV or some group of 5 school.
Unless he likes the cards table that much. But you go to Arkansas, and you probably get you a private plane to fly you between Fayetteville and Las Vegas every weekend if you wanted to in the offseason.
Hugh
If you
Freeze
wanted to.
seems like a guy that'll end up at spending a lot of time in Vegas. His favorite stuff's legal there.
Jeez, Richard.
Gambling.
Speaking of job openings, we don't know that Hugh Freeze likes to gamble.
I assume he does.
Speaking of job openings, and one of the bigger ones, perhaps the biggest one out there right now, LSU. After they're attempting to rebuild after Mike Elko took dynamite to their program in their entire state on his way out and across the Sabine River. They have hired a president. They have hired a chancellor, which I'm not sure. That confuses me still. Like, I don't know the difference. I think the president oversees the Baton Rouge campus, or is overseeing the Baton Rouge campus. I think the chancellor is overseeing their system. Interestingly enough, did you know today that the University of New Orleans, I didn't know this, they were a University of Louisiana school.
Okay.
They are transitioning to LSU.
Okay.
And so the first mock-up graphics that they have put out, they've changed their logo, their privateer head, and they have made it purple and gold. And the logo that I saw said LSU New Orleans. I don't like that.
I don't like that. I like the Uno.
Yes.
The privateer logo is pretty good.
But
Yeah,
LSU has
bad.
hired I don't know the chancellor. I could look it up.
The
They
chancellor's name is James Dalton. He's coming from the University of Alabama.
Okay, so James Dalton is the chancellor. I think he's assigned to oversee a lot of the academic side for the entire system.
Well, essentially, the chancellor's role, at least the way I understand it in the state of Texas, is you're supposed to be the liaison between the system and the state legislature, the state government, and the main role is to procure funds to do all sorts of different stuff. I don't think that's going to be a problem in the state of Louisiana, because you're going to be allowed to embezzle from all sorts of different things.
But who wants to jump in between the school and that governor right now? How do you sign up for that job? But the way I've read in my very little reading that I did over this morning, and I do have somewhat of a vested interest because the president is Wade Roos,
And
as
he's
I predicted. He's coming from McNeese, as I predicted last week, that Wade Roos would be the next president at LSU. He is. The most interesting part about this, and what I read was that Wade Roos is going to be a major player in their fundraising arm. And that's going to be one of the tasks that he's been assigned with, is to increase their fundraising.
He sit on the board at Our Lady of the Lake, or what?
No, but interestingly enough, the director or the chairman of the board at Our Lady of the Lake is part of this search committee for the next football coach. I did read that from it was Matt Moscona. I think Matt Moscona said that. But perhaps I think a lot of folks in Louisiana are scratching their head about Verge Osbury being named the permanent athletic director. The interim tag has been removed. Verge has been at LSU for a long time, and he's been associate for a long time. I thought I shouldn't be surprised. By the logic that I used last week in talking about this whole deal, I thought that they were going to have to hire a president and an athletic director that loved the state of Louisiana and had been there for a while and were willing to jump on this grenade to try to prevent it from blowing up, or at least the collateral damage from the blow up that's happened, to limit it. Well, they did that. They went and hired a president from McNeese, and then they promoted their interim athletic director to the permanent athletic director, and it's a guy that had been on staff there for a long time. So you go and you read Tiger droppings, and there's not a lot of people real fired up about the decision that they made it's always the optics, right? And like, this is what everybody has said, is like, it's LSU. If you're LSU, you're going to go hire a president from McNeese and then promote an associate athletic director, when A&M went and plucked a sitting athletic director.
Yep.
But the thing about, I kind of halfway understand it, because, it's the storyline's been, you don't have a president, an AD, or a football coach, right? So if you're going to hire, for president, check, got that. If I was a president, next thing I would do, get an AD as quickly as I can. And how quickly are you going to go poach, somebody from another Division I school or something like that? So to me, I understand it from that point. But then again, I understand the LSU fans saying, hey, we're LSU. Why can't we go get this person or that person?
Well, the reason is for what you said, but the reasons are also that the optics of what has happened over there in the last 10 days.
Who would want to work there?
Yeah, when you've got the governor screaming nonsense into every microphone he can get in front of.
Nonsense because the words he's saying are nonsense, or nonsense because you can't make out what he's saying?
I mean, the subject matter. Like he said that LSU won't even compete for the BCS this year. Well, yeah, dude, nobody is competing for the BCS because there hasn't been one since 2013.
We turned the computers off in 2013.
So there is it makes a lot of sense for them to go hire a president from a smaller school in the state, and then they promote an athletic director, because the people that are going to want to dive into this are going to have a vested interest in LSU and the state of Louisiana. Both of those people do. But the number one word that we hear all the time, especially right now in college athletics with college football coaches, is what? Alignment.
LSU president Wade Roos backtracks the AD Verge Osbury decision. This is being reported by 1405 ESPN and Matt Moscona.
So they haven't promoted
They haven't officially promoted Verge Osbury.
Dude.
Well,
what did I say? There's so many pigs at the trough over there.
They can't get out of their own way.
Everybody has got to have information.
Shout out Brad Duncan in the YouTube chat for pointing it out. I went and looked it up on
What time was that
Twitter.
report? I missed it today.
An hour ago.
Okay.
3:20 this afternoon Central Time. Says that LSU president Roos backtracks on AD Verge Osbury decision. I looked up Verge Osbury because I'd never heard of him before. And I saw LSU's student newspaper, named The Reveille, had a story about him being promoted from AD. And there's a line in there about how he was implicated in a Title IX scandal. And you can't do that and be an AD or remain in power in today's college athletics.
But this is Louisiana, man.
It is Louisiana. I know that. But everything they're going through, that seems like one of the things that's not going to be able to fly. Essentially, he's in trouble for not reporting a player's confession to domestic violence.
Oh, yikes.
The player confessed, and Mr. Osbury did not notify their Title IX offense or law enforcement.
Well,
he just tried to sweep it under the rug himself.
You know, the ties between Osbury and Scott Woodward were interesting. And so, like, when they promoted Verge, or the announcement they promoted Verge, I'm like, man, again, the nefarious part of my brain is going, who's he got dirt on? Like, how was he able to leverage this interim tag to almost an immediately permanent tag? But now it sounds like he hasn't. So Wade Roos is walking into a mare's nest, and he's got a lot of stuff. And there's so many leaks, right? Like, your first day on the job, you're going, hold on, I didn't promote anybody. Where is this coming from? And he's got now this added hurdle, this added piece to the puzzle for him as he's trying to solve and get them back on the straight and narrow. But Nick, to your point, the word is alignment, right? So what football coach is going to want to jump in immediately to this until they go, who's the new president? Who's the new AD? What kind of alignment do those two have? And then what kind of autonomy am I going to be given to run this program when I go down there? And, oh, by the way, even if I meet with new president, new AD, you guys have got leaks coming out of every which direction. Who am I supposed to believe here?
Yeah, exactly.
I think LSU, because this is the mess they've created, I don't think that this hiring process is going to be like Lane Kiffin says, okay, yeah, I want to come, and then it's done. I think Lane Kiffin or Marcus Freeman or whoever else that they're targeting to be the next head coach there, if I were them, I don't care that it's LSU and one of the premier jobs in the SEC. I need these questions answered, because I think when you look across college football right now, it's flattening. And, you know, look in the top 10, especially before this past weekend when Georgia Tech was in there. There's a lot of schools that haven't been among the upper echelon of college football, some of them ever, in Indiana. And you're starting to see it more and more week to week. I think there's more parity in the sport, and I think it's flattening overall. So where you might have this view of LSU as this premier job, and I still think it is. I'm not negating that at all. But what I'm saying is maybe the rest of the jobs are just inching closer to it. So I'm going to need more guarantees if I'm going to leave Oxford, a place that I've built, or I'm going to leave South Bend and that cachet and that brand. Give me a reason to. With all the stuff you guys got going on, all the headaches that have been caused since you fired Brian Kelly, why give me a reason I should jump into this other than it's LSU and everybody says it's a good job.
The fact that this has all come together within 10 days, they've hired a president, a chancellor, and an AD within 10 days of firing Brian Kelly.
Well, they haven't hired an AD.
Or sorry, allegedly hired an AD for 20 minutes. That should give any head coach pause. Serious pause. Because there's not going to be real alignment or organization when you're having to hold it all together by string.
Well, I will say that the president thing has been in the works for a while because they had an interim president.
Been searching for one for 6 months,
Yes.
but you finally make the hire now.
Well, that's what I was saying last week. Is like if I'm Wade Roos, I'm like, why did you couldn't wait to get me in the office, then fire Brian Kelly? Like you couldn't give me 10 days.
Bad.
So the timing of all this has made it incredibly more difficult for whichever administrators are taking that job. But you're right. Like if I'm a coach, I'm going to go, you guys just piecemealed this together to try to get something going. Like you're going to have to prove to me that this president and this AD are aligned, not just, hey, the president hired an athletic director quickly. No, show me something. Like, why did you do this? Yeah. I just think there's a lot of negotiation still to happen between LSU and whoever their next head coach is. And they're only creating more obstacles for themselves with all these decisions. I didn't know that they had backed out of Verge Osbury being the AD. That's crazy.
That's got to give shout out to Brad Duncan in the YouTube chat for that one. He's the one that pointed that out.
All right. So we continue on a We Learned Wednesday. I've been trying to get in. Actually, I want to talk about this. So I had to look up what extra points were. Extra points. I believe it's called let me look. I have it pulled up right here. Extra Points MB. It is a I don't know if it's a podcast. It doesn't have a ton of followers. 500 followers on Twitter. And it says learn how college sports really works. Extra Points covers the business, policy, and off the field stories changing college sports. The guy that founded it is Matt Brown. It's at Matt Brown EP. His poster above his Twitter picture looks like a meme or a screenshot of a meme that says FOIA and find out. So this guy just files Freedom of Information Acts all over the place and sees what he can pull out. What he did this week was he sent FOIA requests to, I don't know if it was a full story, but I don't feel like scrolling through the full story. Basically, he asked colleges and universities how much alcohol they're selling on game days inside their stadiums. So you guys have not seen this. Don't look it up.
I already looked up the top 10 list.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. You included it in your rundown.
No, I said go through.
I was curious.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, I said go through the list of the top 10. All right, so we're going to look at the top 10 schools that have the highest alcohol units sold and total. It's sorted by total revenue. So this is the amount of money they're making off of alcohol sales inside their stadiums. Nick, I will tell you this. The number one is a little bit of a surprise, and it's a Big Ten school. If you care to make a guess.
Illinois. Iowa.
Incorrect. Illinois is on the list.
You're in the vicinity.
Iowa is not on the list.
Is it? It can't be Michigan, is it?
No, it's
but
Nebraska.
That seems like a. Oh wow.
I thought
that doesn't surprise me too much.
If you would have told me that it's a Big Ten team at number one, I'd have thought Wisconsin by a landslide.
I would have just thought Ohio State, Michigan, just because they're the two bigger stadiums.
Yes, Michigan comes in at number 5. Wisconsin was number 8. By the way, Nebraska total revenue off alcohol sales just over $2 million.
Well, their football team has reached the.
Is there a correlation with good teams, or I guess bad teams, and more alcohol being sold?
No, because number 2 is Tennessee. Number 3 is LSU. They will be disappointed in that.
Yeah, come on.
Their
That's
next home game is going to be a complete disaster. Because it's just like the Jello Shot Challenge in Omaha.
In LSU's defense, when you leave the stadium midway through the third quarter before they even stop the alcohol sales, kind of hurts your revenue from alcohol sales, right, Nick?
As a person who got an undergraduate degree in that state, leaving at halftime is a very popular thing to do. because there's typically way more alcohol at your tailgate than there is in the stadium. And that's just the way they roll. And so I guess if you leave at halftime now, back then you could come back in the stadium, but why would you want to kind of thing? And now I think they're just going to go, hey, we got way more booze at the tailgate and we don't want to watch this anymore. So let's just get out of here. LSU is at number 3, Minnesota at 4, Michigan at 5, Indiana at 6, West Virginia lower on this list that I thought they'd be.
Yeah, I thought they'd be high. Where do they rank
7.
in couches burned?
8 is Wisconsin, 9 is Kentucky, and 10 is Illinois. The only school, now he did say not every school reported back. So you'd have to read the full report to get the total number of schools that sent him the actual data. He does have a caveat. If any school leader reading this story wants to send over their sales numbers, I'll be more than happy to update his table. If your favorite school isn't listed here, it's because they didn't respond to my FOIA request, and they don't have to. The only school in the state of Texas that makes an appearance here is
Tech.
North Texas. So
yeah, that's
I
just
gotta
because
imagine,
schools just didn't get back to them.
Because North Texas, it's not a huge stadium, so even if everybody in there was boozing and they're not selling it out, they're good and they're not packing it. So I just got to imagine at some point there's a cutoff line where you're going, all right, we just didn't have enough schools respond to this to give the list any credence. But Nebraska at 1, I thought was very, very interesting. Very interesting.
They love their Busch Light there.
You speaking of wanting to drink at football games, I've caught myself. I'm trying to get into college basketball right now. I really am. Like,
do we need to come up with the drinking game?
No. I was watching
Finish
Duke
your
and
drink
Texas.
if the Aggies take a mid-range jumper.
You'll stay stone cold sober.
I thought you were going to say something like if you do it every time A&M scores a bucket this year, you're going to be
take a shot every time Luke Evangelist tweets.
That's a
alcohol poisoning.
I tried to watch, and I did. I sat down and I watched a good bit of Duke and Texas last night, but I kept flipping back to Maction. Ohio and Miami, nobody in the stadium on a Tuesday night. These guys are just playing for the love of the game.
You're a sick human being.
Both of them, they were undefeated in conference play.
There's a sick human being behind you somewhere, Nick Savage. That guy actually
he's upstairs right now, but he had about 15 bets on probably both of those games.
Ugh.
Well,
I haven't watched any college hoops yet this year other than the Bucky game we went to on Monday night. I had to turn I surrendered the remote at 8:00 after the ranking show ended.
What I wanted to talk about,
we got to watch Dancing with the Stars.
Yuck. What I wanted
Best
to talk
Dancing
about
with the Stars episode ever.
This Maction game last night was Ohio was wearing some alternate uniforms. The uniforms weren't bad. They also had alternate helmets, which included a paw print logo.
Hold on, I'm looking this up.
This paw print logo was turned completely sideways. It's turned 90 degrees from what it normally is. Like Clemson's paw print logo facing up. This paw print logo was turned facing this way. And I hated it.
Dude.
I hated it so much.
I'm looking.
It looked like a mistake, but they're not going to make a mistake on every helmet. It was so hard to watch. I could not get my eyes unfixated off of it.
I just looked it up. It doesn't bother me at all.
Really?
Doesn't bother me. I think it's just they wanted it at a different angle. Logo looks fine.
I did like the jerseys.
Yeah, and the blacks.
Miami wore some pretty sweet white lids too. But that's where I'm at, trying to get into college basketball, but Maction keeps pulling me in. So I haven't even looked at the college basketball slate tonight. I do like Feast Week because something's always on.
Well, isn't it like next week we're going to get that Tournament of Champions or Champions Challenge at some point where Duke and Kentucky and North Carolina and maybe they let Michigan State partake. Maybe it's Kansas where they all descend on Madison Square Garden for a doubleheader. Is that happening again this year? Because to me, that's the real beginning of college basketball season when there's actually some marquee matchups. And I know Texas versus Duke last night's a pretty big deal. Texas, big-time brand in college athletics. Duke, one of the premier college basketball brands. I get that. Just no real appetite for me, at least early on, because Texas is, like Texas A&M, rebuilding their program under first-year head coach. But when those schools, the big names, the big six or whatever, they play those games at a neutral site, that's what really gets me excited. I can't watch all of these non-conference cupcakes unless it's a team I have a vested rooting interest in, like Texas A&M. I will keep up with what Michigan basketball does, but I'm not going to put them on to watch Michigan play Oakland on a Monday night. You know?
Fair enough. There's only 3 SEC games tonight. University of Maryland, Eastern Shore at Georgia, Tarleton at LSU. Not to make this an overly LSU show, that's another coach in Baton Rouge who is on very much the hot seat. Matt
We're
McMahon.
doing Kentucky, Louisville next Tuesday, and then Michigan State, Kentucky a couple weeks from now.
North Alabama at Mississippi State's the other game. Here are the lines on those. Georgia's favored by 34.5, LSU favored by 15.5, Mississippi State favored by 24.5. I'm bad. I don't know. I'm not saying I would probably be like a regular normal gambler in college football, right at 50%. I have no feel for how to bet college basketball. But I'm looking at this and understanding that LSU's head coach is hated by the majority of the fan base, and I'd love to see Tarleton go in there and win.
I know somebody who is pretty good at betting college basketball. He'd help you out.
Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah.
Audible pop out of Nick.
Yeah, Shohei.
All right. So
how many Matthew Dawson? Like, what if Shohei Ohtani was just 2 Matthew Dawsons on top of each other's shoulders, just like in a trench coat? That's what kind of gambling he's pulling off.
He's probably got his units. Oh, excuse me. The units that he bets, not his unit. Given where Richard's mind is today on this show, I wanted to make sure I corrected myself. The units that Shohei is playing, I would imagine, are much larger than the ones that Matthew Dawson's able to drive across the border and lay at the at LaBerge or the Golden Nugget.
You never know.
Speaking of college basketball, did you guys see this? CSU Northridge women scored 72 unanswered points to start a game against Bethesda College. Bethesda College had 5 players on their roster due to illness. They didn't score until there were 4 minutes left in the third quarter. At the time, the score was 72-0. The previous game, Bethesda College had to play the second half with only 4 players against San Diego.
72-0. It's all right, guys. Basketball's a game of runs. We'll get up.
If you were watching that, I gave you the runs. At what point do we just turn the scoreboard off? Like, hey, we'll keep count of what it is. But
you got to run the clock like high school football. Well, I mean, I know they do that in basketball
fouls.
too. Yeah, just run it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Nick has seen more running clocks than anybody else, but he does have a. What I'm saying is, I've been to plenty of high school football games where I went to one in Franklin not too long ago where it was 56-0 at halftime. A front blew in late in the second quarter. It was clear that this game was. If the scoreline wasn't even indicative, it was worse than the scoreline at 56-0. The Franklin head coach, it's not the current one, the guy that was at the time, and he retired, and he'd been there forever. The field's named after him, so I'm not disrespecting him at all. But this front, and it was a really windy, real cold front, blew in at halftime. He didn't come out for the second half. They did an 8-minute running clock for the final 2 quarters.
But no one on the field?
That's awesome.
And there was...
The head coach is like,
he showed up. He showed up for the handshake line. There was 30 seconds left. He comes out on a golf cart from the.
That's
facility.
Amazing. That's
so
amazing.
That is such
you do
a name stuff
move.
After a guy like that.
Yeah, he's like, my job's done. See you guys when it's over.
They named the field after him, so nobody
what
was
a
really.
G. That's awesome.
Nobody was really that upset about it. I've been. Can I tell you this honestly? When I go cover high school football games. The number one worst thing you can see, Nick, when you arrive at an opposing stadium, like for me, it's an opposing stadium every week. Like I'm walking into, I don't have a home team. But for you, see if you answer this the way I would answer it. What's the worst thing you can see on the other sideline?
Oh, I honestly don't know where you're going with this, but
mums and corsages.
Oh my gosh. Dude,
you get a homecoming game, and it's a guaranteed added at least 30 minutes to an hour.
Yes, it's where were we? Waco. We're in Waco for Rudder Waco U. You know, you get 28 minutes on the halftime clock for both bands to perform on a normal game. We've been to a few homecoming games this year, and most of them were nice and quick. They had their ceremony done, but Waco, oh my gosh, it was like a 45-minute halftime.
So do you know you're supposed to get, if the opposing band is not off the field, it's supposed to be a 15-yard penalty for like every 5 minutes they're still out there. So if they go over the time and they're still on the field, it's supposed to be an immediately 15-yard penalty. I know this because I was at a game. This is how long I've been doing it. Miles Jones was a junior, I think, at Magnolia West, and they were playing Brenham, and it was Brenham's homecoming. And their head coach at the time was losing his mind at halftime, and he's right. Like, he brought his team out with 3 minutes left on the scoreboard, and they start warming up for the second half. And they sat there and waited for Brenham's band for like 10 or 15 minutes to get off the field. And he's screaming that there should be a flag. I've also seen – so both schools can agree to extend the halftime. I didn't know this. Like, it's not hey, everyone's got to be 28 minutes. If you file a request and the opposing school has to sign off on it, they can extend it. And maybe they did that in that Waco U game, Nick, because I have seen a 45-minute halftime, and I have to say it's the only only homecoming game where I wasn't lamenting the fact that it was a 45-minute halftime.
Why is that?
Because it was Beaumont United's homecoming against Port Arthur Memorial at the Butch, with the name of the stadium in Beaumont. And I have never in my life seen a halftime show like this. Both bands, they're like, you got to go way back in Southeast Texas to understand where both of those schools have come from and the bands that were at the schools before they were Port Arthur Memorial and Beaumont United. So like Port Arthur Lincoln was like their band was famous, and they would dance. It was like hugely entertaining at halftime. Well, Beaumont United is on the same campus that Beaumont Ozane used to be. Same thing. So when Beaumont United scheduled Port Arthur Memorial for their homecoming, the halftime show was going to be as entertaining or more entertaining than the game was. So Port Arthur Memorial goes out there and does like a normal routine. And I was told, don't leave. Like, I usually go to my truck at halftime and charge my phone and stuff.
Yep.
I was told, don't leave. They're like, Beaumont United's about to put on a show that you've never seen at halftime. And they did. They had a cappella singing. They had gospel hymns being sung. They had a guy come out and freestyle rap. They flew in some they were famous TikTokers that danced. They landed in a helicopter right before halftime and walked right out to the field.
Was this the first night you met Luke Evangelist?
No. What is it?
TikTokers who dance.
Oh, I didn't know that he did that. Yikes. The guy was passing the mic around. They had an MC on the field, and like if you wanted to freestyle for a little bit, they just passed the mic. It was insane. I could scroll through some. I was still using Snapchat back then. I could scroll through my memories and find this. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Highly entertaining. Highly, highly entertaining. That was I was there scouting Jalen Gilbo and Chandler Rivers. So that's how long it would be. Chandler Rivers is at Duke and Gilbo's at Texas now.
All right, Brad Duncan, 88. Ross Dellinger just reported an update on the LSU circus. Here it is, 5:24 p.m. New LSU president Wade Roos on New Orleans radio addressing his earlier comments today regarding the elevation of Verge Osbury as full-time AD. Quote, I removed the interim tag. He's the acting AD. He has my full authority to go find us a coach for the best job in America. Close quote. So what are we doing?
Where did Moscona get that report from?
It was ESPN 104.5.
So somebody misquoted? Was he misquoted?
No, it sounds like they tried to walk it back and then they realized that's a terrible idea. Let's just go ahead and keep the first terrible idea afloat. What are we doing?
That's crazy.
Ugh.
That's
acting AD is a crazy term. Acting AD. Acting.
That's pretty disrespectful to Osbury.
Just say, yeah, he's our AD. He has his full authority.
Why did you have to take the interim tag?
The word acting is crazy.
Just keep him as the interim. That's what that word's used for.
No, it's like in sentences, there's a word that does a lot of the lifting. The word acting is doing a lot of holding back.
Can you
here.
find the tweet about him walking it back again and read that? Because it's like,
well, I
I'm
didn't.
confused.
It was like a link to a full story. Really, it just gave the headline. I wasn't gonna go and says LSU president Ruse backtracks on AD Verge Osprey decision. I can click on the link. I can go look at LouisianaSports.net, and it is by Matt Moscona. And the original report is from Piper Hutchinson. She says, I asked incoming LSU President Wade Ruse on decision to name Verge Osprey the permanent AD. Quote, I'll remove the interim title and then we'll assess the situation. I can't make a very good decision after being on this job for 8 hours.
Well, that's true. Like
Quote graphic, I can't make a very good decision.
Oh, yeah.
Put that.
Out of context, LSU.
That's like something that's going on on 3. They're going to make a graph.
Out of context, but really, is it out of context?
Doesn't sound like it.
That's a Nunoism. It is, but it isn't.
So
it's a bad decision, but it isn't.
Hold on. I'm still having trouble wrapping my brain around this. He said that he hasn't removed.
So the president said earlier today that he is removing the interim tag, which any normal person would think, okay, he's the full-time AD. But in the same quote where he said he was removing the interim tag, he said, we are going to assess the situation.
And then recently in the last
hour, he had to go say he's the acting AD.
Dude, what is it?
Not exactly inspiring a lot of confidence in Mr. Osbury's ability to go and hire a full-time head coach for the quote-unquote best job in America. Yikes.
There's a thread on TexAgs. I'm just looking at the board. It's titled LSU new AD in hot water already. And it's the report from Moscona, 104.5 ESPN. Essentially half-decade-old Title IX violations by the new AD at LSU have come to light, and the newly appointed president appears to be backtracking after removing the interim tag yesterday. This is so dysfunctional. This is do they still do 30 for 30s?
I think.
But here's the thing, with all what looks like to be, again, pigs at the trough, backroom deals, handshakes that have been made, who's going to come forward and tell the truth here? It's going to be like the
nobody, because it involves politicians.
Yes. It's like the what was the archaeologist that found King Tut's tomb? And
the only archaeologist I know is Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I was about to say Indiana Jones.
There was no, you haven't seen the story. It's like the archaeologist that dug up King Tut's tomb. Everybody that was associated with that excavation, all the way down to the financier, they all like died. The last one that would remain committed suicide and wrote a note in blood before he did. It's wild. You got to go look that up. It's We Learned
There's got to be some good YouTube videos on that. So
it's a We Learned Wednesday. We can look that up.
We Learned Wednesday, King Tut's tomb.
King Tut's.
Don't go near
excavators. The discovery of the tomb. This is a Wikipedia. So, let's see. The tomb was opened beginning on November 4th, 1922. Excavation by Egyptologist Howard Carter. And so the fallout of this is like everybody associated with this excavation passed away. I'm trying to find a succinct version to describe all this, but you should go read it. If you've never read this, it came across my scrolls like last week, and I was like, what? This is it a coincidence, or is there, was that place haunted and a curse put on all these people that dug up King Tut?
You don't believe in ghosts, do you?
No.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't believe in aliens either.
Of the pharaohs. Carter and Cameron formally opened the pyramid.
It's going to be hard to find, I think, a succinct version of this. Anyway, we're moving on. Speaking of We Learn Wednesday, I've got a couple of notes to pass along of the same weird manner as the King Tut. If you can find a succinct version, you can read it. We Learned Wednesday. I have a little bit of interesting movie facts for you, Nick Savage. Are you a cinephile?
Not really, no, but let's hear them.
You seen the movie Independence Day?
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
In that movie, President Whitmore, played by Bill Pullman, gives a speech in front of an airplane hangar. Before the final battle with the aliens? Do you remember the speech I'm talking about?
I think so.
Okay, so President Whitmore gives a speech in front of an airplane hangar before the final battle with the aliens. That hangar that he's standing in front of is the same one that housed the Enola Gay. Do you know what the Enola Gay was?
Yes, of course. The Enola Gay is the one that dropped the bomb.
It dropped the Enola Gay was one of the bombers that dropped one of the atomic bombs on Japan in World War II. Those bombs were dropped on August 6th, 1945. And that scene was filmed on August 6th, 1995.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You learned something, right?
I'm pretty sure that one of the propellers from the Enola Gay might be hanging in Gate 12.
It is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like in the ceiling above the bar, right, Nick? It's from the Enola Gay.
Pretty neat.
I wonder how they came across that. That's probably paid a pretty penny for it.
No idea.
In middle-aged society, chivalry was of great importance.
Okay.
The people who didn't abide by the code of chivalry then were considered bad people and typically didn't live in the main parts of the town. Instead, they would be forced to live on the outskirts in the villages and were referred to by a slang term, which is where we get the term villains. That was the slang term used for people that didn't want to abide by middle-aged chivalry, and they were kind of shunned to the outskirts of town, the villages, so they started calling them villains.
Should bring that back.
Olin would be a villain.
My We Learn
quite the
Wednesday comes courtesy of Jacob Fuller upstairs. Was talking about the things. I made a joke. So like maybe we let one of your, I think his daughter's 5, Rosemary. It's like maybe we'll let your daughter write for TexAgs. And he goes, well, Rosemary would write a lot about dragons and jaguars and ocelots. It's like ocelots. He goes, yeah. One of her favorite thoughts is that Salvador Dali had a pet ocelot in the 60s named Babu.
Is this the smartest 5-year-old on the planet?
This was given to him by the head of the state of Colombia. Probably.
So she's read up on Salvador Dali's pets?
Apparently. Salvador Dali had an ocelot. As of 2014, sticking with ocelots, the Texas ocelot population was estimated to be 50 to 80 individuals, making them critically imperiled. Let's save the ocelots, people.
I saw a video of a badger in Texas, out like toward Amarillo. I didn't know that we had badgers in the state of Texas.
I would love to, speaking of badgers and Big Ten mascots, I would love to see a Wolverine, like hopefully behind a very, very thick sheet of plexiglass or something like that.
Where are Wolverines
But I just want to see one. Very, very far north,
North
America.
What state has the most Wolverines?
Like it's further north. Like it is around the Arctic Circle, kind of.
Alaska.
Yeah.
So are they in Michigan?
Not anymore.
Well, not anymore. So they have eliminated their state school's mascot from the population.
They used to. So the University of Michigan used to have a actual live Wolverine, and I know this just off the top of my head. His name was Biff. But as you can imagine, keeping a Wolverine as a mascot's pretty damn dangerous. So they decided to let's not do that anymore. Well, they don't do anything. They're just big cats. You give them enough, like it's easy to care for those.
The population of Wolverines in the contiguous United States is estimated to be less than 300 and is scattered across several states. Montana, Idaho, Washington, smaller populations or sightings have been reported in Wyoming, Oregon, and California. I did not know that. Did not know that. Hey, Nick, whenever you were really little, maybe not really little, like early teenager, right? And you go out with your buddies, maybe to the movies, maybe to the mall, and y'all are all spending the night at your house or somebody's house, and you're leaving the mall, and you're getting ready to pile up in mom's car. What did you yell whenever you got out of the mall?
I don't know.
You're getting ready to go home in mom's car. You got all your buddies with you.
Shotgun.
Shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
This shotgun, the origins of calling shotgun come from stagecoach drivers. Stagecoaches would often get robbed by bandits and outlaws in the Wild West. Therefore, the people that own the stagecoaches would hire armed bodyguards to sit next to them to protect their cargo. Those guards were typically armed with
A shotgun.
shotgun. So that is where we get the term shotgun, meaning front seat.
I did know that. I'd heard that before.
I did not.
Interesting.
That's why it made our We Learn Wednesday. Okay. The bit tomorrow for a Thunderdome Thursday as we bid adieu to Nick Savage. Thank you for all your help getting the show started, Nick. You have an open invitation to come back and either sit in that chair you're in or this chair next to me. Maybe if something drastic or dramatic happens in the sport of NASCAR, feel free to come back.
I'll be the beat reporter for y'all.
But the Thunderdome Thursday bit tomorrow, I think you're going to get a kick out of. Not overly gross, not overly hot, but we're going to get to the bottom of a age-old question that I think we just assume that something goes into something and it makes the most delicious combination. So we're going to try different ways.
Maybe I do want to come back. What are we talking about here?
What?
That's a great question and a great way to end this Wednesday edition of the B Team. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you
all
tomorrow.
Cup?